What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll Gypsy Diaries. I am your host, Andi Thunders, the Rock and Roll Gypsy, and with me is the Rock and Roll Nurse, and I've got Ken and Mike from Christillow. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing
Hey,
very good.
thanks for having us.
Oh, it's nice to meet you guys, and it's an honor to have you. Um, First of all, how are you guys doing, and what have you got going on lately, recently? What's happening?
Go ahead, Ken. You go first.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've been working on a second album, and we're sort of wrapping that up right now. So the mixing's done. We're moving into a mastering stage. So we're hoping that this thing will be released, probably before the end of the year. And we're just trying to drive that to closure. We're sort of like the Boston band, so it took us like 2 years to make the record. So we're just hoping that we can actually just bring this over the finish line and get it out, shortly here. We'll see how that plays out, but it's going good now.
That's good.
Yeah, we would start doing the stuff that we knew and remastering it, and then Kenny would come in with a riff, and where I'd come in with more lyrics, and next thing you know, we'd have another song. So
Yeah.
it was a work in progress, but it's all good stuff, I think.
Kind of like that songwriter's curse where it's like, I've got to finish this song. Oh, oops, I wrote 3 new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first one's
Yep.
still not finished at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the way that goes, man.
Happens to me all the time.
So I'm living here in Pennsylvania. Now that Kenny moves down south, it's a little bit harder for us to get together, but we still have the engineer that helps us out. He still lives here in Harrisburg, so Kenny can send him stuff, and I can just drive up the road and we can work together that way. So I've got people that are interested in the movie industry that is looking for music for their project. So I want to get this done way before the end of the year.
Yeah, that's one of the only ways to sell records anymore is to get on a soundtrack or something like that,
That's right. That's right.
Almost going pre-Beatles back on us again, where it's cover songs and movie soundtracks that are ranking up the charts and hardly anything original is making a dent.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
Everything goes full circle. They forget that includes bad stuff too.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
The thing I've noticed though is there's an underground cult following for almost anything original and unique, and that cult following can be a lot bigger than what you would perceive as a cult following. I mean,
Yeah, we learned that. So the first album we recorded back in '89. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was actually released in 1990.
Okay.
And so we were out performing at the time as the band. We went through like 89 to 94ish, I guess. And so that during that time, we were shopping it, moving along, had the album pressed, doing that type of thing. And then in 2016, we got this phone call, right? And it was from a guy named Jeremy Golden, and he owns Heaven and Hell Records. And so I'm actually sitting on the beach where I live now, which is in Myrtle Beach. I get this phone call, right? And it's I get a text and it says, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about Christillow." And I'm like, who wants to talk about a 30-year-old band, right? But I'm like, "Oh, bite." And so I texted back, "Yeah, what's up?" Because I'd like to talk to you. So I call him, and he's like, "Listen, I got this cassette tape, and we got it in Philadelphia." Right. So the band's out of Harrisburg, but we played up and down the East Coast. So, we sold records the whole way. And he goes, "I got this cassette tape. We bought it at a yard sale for like 50 cents.
50 cents.
And 50 cents. Right. And he said, and you know what happens with tapes at yard sales, right? The ones that don't sell, they go in the trash can. Right. So, but he comes back and he says, "Hey, I got this tape and I'm listening to it. And I'd really like to, reissue this, remaster it, put new album cover, booklets, and I'd like to release this." And that's really what they are. They do a lot of, this label does a lot of reissues. They do a lot of Europe type stuff, Asia, and South America type stuff. And we're like,
you should get them in touch with my buddy Rocky Shades from Wrathchild over in England about re-releasing their back catalog, maybe.
there you go. That's possible. He so we did this, 3 weeks later, we hooked up and it went great. And they released the CDs in 2016 and 17. They released that vinyl, the yellow vinyl that was really made for Sweden and Germany. And the CDs sold really well all over, but in Japan, particularly. And then, so when you talk about there's a cult following, I had no idea. Michael had no idea that 80s metal is huge in Europe, right? It's huge in Japan. We had
Anything
no idea.
rock or metal related, no matter how obscure it is big in Europe and Japan. In America, it doesn't hold shit to a hand towel, unfortunately. Right. And I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe I do, but then, I'm disgracing my fellow countrymen, but a lot of them don't really listen to fucking music. And they don't know their hand from their ass. So, but I talk to people because I'm on Hard Rock Hell Radio. They're based out of England. Because what I play, I could never really get anywhere over here because I don't play the major hit makers that's been regurgitated constantly. I play the obscure and underground stuff, and anything over there from hardcore punk bands, big over in Japan. Like you never would think that, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, it was great. We saw a post from on our page from a girl in Greece. She said a great album to listen to on a rainy day, and the name of the album is "Standing in the Rain." So yeah. She's digging it in Greece.
Yeah. So
it's got to be crazy because there's no way you could have ever known about this like 30 years ago.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Way.
Yeah. So it was crazy, and we were all sort of like, surprised, obviously, because of that kind of following, that underground that's sitting out there.
It sounds like you guys had put the band to bed pretty much, or figured it was done. It would never happen.
Definitely. When grunge came in, that really took care of us. And in fact, many interviews that you see that were written in magazines and stuff always say, not always, but most of the time they'll say that we were just a little bit too late for our time. We just came in near the beginning of grunge, and all the heavy metal bands were pretty much gone with grunge taking over. But
it's crazy because those bands didn't want to take over anything.
Right.
They had no ambition for that and didn't want what they got. That was all the record labels doing.
I was just going to say, record labels pushed it all. Yeah.
They have been doing that. The best example I give is Detroit in the 60s. They exploited it and then moved on. That's what they do and always.
Yeah. What's the next big thing?
Yeah. Does the way the music industry operates now help and hinder you guys then in a way, or has it been something that's helped you more so than anything? I don't know, because it can be both. You know what I mean?
I think it hinders us a little bit because it's harder to get the music out there now. I say that with a grain of salt, but with all the media and all the social media that you can put it on, but to get in and play places is tough.
Yeah.
To play the live music, to play it live, it's just tough.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, without the way things are today, though, it would have been tough. It would have been tough for us. While we were selling albums, East Coast back in the day,
you're selling them worldwide now.
Europe was not in reach, right? So for us, so that helped us. I think some of that, and with the record label's main focus and connections over there, it really helped us. And so we're thankful and grateful for that. It was a cool opportunity. It came out of the blue, but it worked out great. The label's awesome. The guys that own it are great. And we got to finish something that we started a long time ago, which was really cool,
Yeah. And I mean, they always say like, oh, that stuff's in the past, but that stuff's still relevant and viable. I mean, you see it
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Rocky Shades even said what got him back into doing it, because he was doing a Blues Brothers tribute thing for a while. He said Peter London from Crash Diet talked to me on tour one time about how much of an influence my band was to them. And it just stunned him, because he was in the English Wrathchild. They got
Okay.
screwed over from the get-go with Heavy Metal Records, but you can watch the interview I did with Rocky on here. He's a great guy, but kind of the same thing where he's just like, how the fuck is this happening?
Right.
I mean, my friend Bobby Liebling from Pentagram's going over to South America for the first time this year, and he's been around for 50 years, all thanks to the advent of the internet.
So see, Metler, there is hope.
Okay. I'll go with that.
Stranger things have happened in life, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Never. I from this experience, man, I learned never say never, because we thought it was done. Like you said, we sort of put it on the shelf. It was a fun run. It was good, but this opened up a whole lot of new things for us. And
Plus,
then
you got that call on the beach, man. Like, how fucking cool is that? That's like double cool to me. On this beautiful beach with this beautiful news in my ear, like, oh man.
I got to tell you, Eddie, I thought it was Michael or the engineer that mixed the first record. He's also mixing the second one, Steve Hunt. I thought it was those guys calling me, messing with me, right? So I'm in my car talking to Jeremy for the label, and I have my other phone in my hand, and I'm looking it up to see if this is real, right? And because I thought those guys were just messing with me,
Come up with a fake name and a fake label and all that.
Yeah,
They're like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm glad you like it. Find you out, motherfucker. Oh, you're real. yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. So it was awesome. It was a great call to get, obviously. And the label did a great job with repackaging it, and it looks good. And so that worked out. And it actually turned into another opportunity for us, which was, so they did the CDs in 16, and then the vinyl in 17, and then in 18, because of that, we actually got into a CD collection called US Metal Invasion out of South America. So we were on Invasion 3, and that sort of morphed into what was called the Final Sign. So that was through Thundersteel. So that sort of moved us along. And meanwhile, we're sitting there with this EP that we did, I guess, Michael, probably 93, 94.
Correct.
And so we did it at a request of a major label. We never worked the deal with them. That's when grunge was coming, and it sort of fell through. But meanwhile, we're sitting with this EP. We don't have the masters, but we tracked them down after the fact. So now that's part of the second record. So there's some old stuff on the second record. There's some new stuff on the second record. There's some stuff we did for the film industry on that. So it's about a 13-song record. So where we only ever had one record and an EP that never got released, now all of a sudden we're going to be sitting with the second record and, hoping for some good things out of it. So yeah, never say never, man.
Is there a third in possibility or talk?
What's that, Andy?
Well, let's just go one at a time here. What happens with this one? No, we're pretty much as far as Christillow stuff, we're pretty much stretched out now.
Okay.
There might be some Kenny and Michael collaboration, which would come under a different name, but that would be a totally different. That wouldn't be with Christillow.
Okay, fair enough.
But there, when we did the first album, there was some discussion about doing some reunion shows, and there were some things that were sitting in front of us to do it. Our bass player Jesse Marks back then he's passed away, so we were like, well, we'll have to do something there and work some things out, and and our drummer's not in the area anymore, but he's coming back in like 6 months. So if the second record does okay, maybe we'll do some reunion shows and have some fun with it, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure playing the songs live would be great.
Oh, it would be so much fun. So much fun.
It would be good.
We'd have to lower the key though.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
I'll
Nobody
tune
else,
down.
nobody would notice.
tune
Nobody
down.
will notice.
So unlike the Crew Boys, you know, that were already in D when they did their records, you know, we were at standard pitch with keyboards. So we got some room to go. We can tune down a little bit. I'll give you that.
I
Thank
mean,
you, Ken.
usually the sky's the limit, but if you're tuning down, the ground's the limit. I don't know.
I'll take it. I'll take it. As long as I'm above the ground
Yeah, exactly.
and not 6 feet under.
Yeah. Every day's a good day that you wake up.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So where did this all start? What made you guys want to be in a rock band in the first place?
Well, I started singing when I was 5. My parents sang, and I just picked it up from them. I had my first solo when I was 6, and just when I, going to school and being in the concert choir and all that kind of stuff, and singing in churches and wherever. I just kept singing, but I always had ideas that I was going to be a hockey player. And I got both my knees were trashed, and I thought, what can I fall back on? And my dad said, if you want to be a singer, you got to practice in the shower. It's the best place to practice is in the shower. I thought, that's great. That's great. He told my brother the same thing though, too, but my brother wanted to be an electrician. So, if you get that.
I do.
Anyway, so then I started singing in local bands around the Lancaster area. I was in a band called Fang, named after a guy's cat, in a band called LA Rockers. And then they all moved back out to the West Coast and called me and said, hey, we got a band going together here. Why don't you come on out? So I just packed everything up, took my girlfriend, and we moved out to Los Angeles. And then it just started blooming from there. And I got with a band called Flywheel. And but in the meantime, I was doing some background vocals for Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac,
Nice.
Kenny Rogers, Christopher Cross, and then I got in this band called Flywheel, and we won. Willie Nelson had a competition, and we won that competition and got signed to Island Records and started touring. And then when we came back to San Diego, they gave us a picnic, kind of like hometown heroes type thing. And I got hit in the throat with a baseball.
Lovely.
Yeah. So to make that long story short, after having trouble, I decided to come back home. So with not being able to talk or anything for almost 2 years, I thought it was done. I thought my dream was done. And then I started getting my voice back a little bit, and I thought, you know what? Let's put a Michael McDonald band together. And then I thought, no, I can't do that. That name's pretty well taken. So I went back with my stage name of Michael James Christillow and started putting out that I was looking for musicians, and I was introduced to Kenny through mutual friends. We wrote a song called All I Want, and man, it was just magic. And we just kept writing, and finally we said, we got to put a band together because this stuff's too good to just sit on. So, and that's how I got started, and how me and Kenny got started together.
Nice.
Kenny?
Yeah, I started playing guitar in 5th grade, and I was actually playing shows in 6th grade. And doing the normal, high school dances, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, by my era, they didn't do all that. They had a DJ.
Oh, you guys had DJs, yeah. So we were doing
damn those DJs.
And stuff, yeah. So
Those
and
kinds
then
of
we
DJs anyway.
Yeah, that's all they have at those places now. But yeah, and then so when I was a junior in high school, I had an opportunity to join a band that was playing about 3 nights a week out. And so I did that. I was 17. Did that for about 4 or 5 years, having the time of my life, obviously, just playing all over the place, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, etc. And it was great. And so I did that, like I said, for about 5 or 6 years. Had an opportunity to play with the band that was originally signed to Axcola Records in France. Didn't accepted it, but then, it didn't work out. We definitely didn't, see things the same way. And then I just sort of was just working, writing songs and playing guitar and sort of hanging out in the Pennsylvania music scene. And then I met Michael, and that's just sort of took off. So that was like 88, I think, Michael, that we
Correct,
started writing.
correct.
So
Yep.
and by 89, we were putting the band together to try to start putting some stuff together for some New York labels. And that's how the first album actually got put together. 3 different demos for New York labels. So
Nice.
yeah.
What were some of the early gigs like? Where did you play? What songs did you play, etc.? Any crazy shit happen?
We pretty much played what was on the album, and we had a nice following because Kenny had a good following because of being local and being around. Everybody knew who he was. Me coming back from California, being out there as long as I was, I lost that following. But I'll tell you, it didn't take long for us to catch on, which I was totally blown away by. And the shows kept getting bigger and bigger. And then we wanted to play more than just our stuff and make a little bit more money while we were doing it. And we started putting some cover stuff in, and it sucked. Doing the cover stuff sucked, you know.
But we did,
So,
we played, not even with the cover stuff, 90, we do like Locomotive Breath and Aqualung, right?
Okay.
Together.
Yeah.
So we were doing things like that. So it wasn't the normal or standard, Bon Jovi stuff too much. But we, at the time, but but most of our set, probably 90% of the set was always original.
Yeah.
And depending if we were doing national openers and, picking up tour dates like that, of course it was all original when we were doing that. So, but when you talk about early stuff, when you talk about like, when we first start and stuff, I mean, you're playing Kiss and Doobie Brothers and things like that, And then once I was out, I was in a speed metal band. I'm playing Metallica, and we're doing Maiden and Priest and Megadeth and Motorhead and stuff like that. That was
my
before
old band
Christillow.
was trying to be a thrash band, and as a lead guitar player with rock and roll leanings, I fucking hated it. So much chugging on the E string and stuff. Just, they're like, we need a riff, and you're good at riffs. I came up with Creeping Death played like a half speed slower and changed a few notes, and it was like, that's great, that's awesome. I'm like, all I'm doing is like, it got really old so quick, all the chugging and hammer-ons.
What was kind of crazy about the whole thing, we would be chosen to be openers for local acts, or not local acts, national acts that were coming through town. I don't want to name any name. I don't want to name any names, but we'd get up and play, and then about 2 or 3 songs into their set, the place was emptying out.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but that you just look at it and go, well, we're doing something right.
In 93, my friend Gary Lee Connor, he's the guitar player in the Screaming Trees, and he has his solo music now. The Screaming Trees were a 90s band that Kurt Cobain was actually a huge fan of, and nobody knows this band really well to this day. Very more psychedelic and laid back, and the singer has a deeper Jim Morrison type of rasp than the other bands. And he told me of a time that they got called in 93 to open for Firehouse. And they played in a gymnasium.
Yeah.
And he said it was really strange because we weren't big. We still aren't big. But it seemed to empty out when we were done playing and they went on stage. I'm like, oh my God.
I know exactly how he feels and what he was going through. Yeah, it was crazy.
It's got to be humbling and scary and like, what the fuck?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The one band, and again, I won't mention name, but they were out getting geared up, and they were going out the next month with Kiss. They were going to be an opening band for Kiss, and here we are opening up for them. We get through with our set, and 2 or 3 songs into the set, people are gone.
Jeez. I mean, this was what, 88, 89, you're saying?
Well, that's when we started.
Probably,
so that would have been about 90, 91, I guess, around there.
yeah, 99,
Okay.
probably 90 through 92, somewhere in that area. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, if it's 92, I could guess what maybe one of the bands was, and I'm not going to say it to, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I can think of a couple bands that you might have been opening for.
Well, they had a video where they were riding around on ATVs, if that helps you out.
Maybe. Not the one I was thinking.
And kind of a cereal almost named after them, or was before them, with the rabbit.
Oh, I got it now. Okay. Yep, I was thinking of the other band that opened for Kiss on the Revenge Tour. They're named after an old horror movie, minus the Kill Kill. I love them, by the way. And I'm going to see them for a second time with LA Guns this summer. But
nice.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be good.
Yeah, I've heard.
It's nice seeing all those bands getting a second chance to come out and
I'm
do
excited.
their stuff.
I mean, I've seen, Faster Pussycat once, and they were great. I met Tammy, and Danny was great. He's like this tall beanpole who's just like, "What's up? You want to take a picture?" Like to everybody in the VIP area. Like, and the young kid they had on guitar, an awesome Andi, or no, his name's Sam. Sorry, that kid is amazing, and he's like younger than me, like in his early 20s, maybe. Their guitar player is fantastic. But I'm looking forward to seeing Phil and Tracy. I'm seeing that LA Guns, not the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be weird.
That's the one you want to see with both of them on stage. Absolutely.
Well, especially, I mean, Tracy's a hell of a fucking guitar player and doesn't get the credit he deserves. And Phil's an amazing lyricist, vocalist. And they came out in the late era when you guys were too.
Yep.
See, a lot of great bands came out in that era. It was just one of those things where literally you were like 2 years behind the curve almost. Or
That's it. That's what a lot of the interview magazines say, It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to have something than nothing, I guess, at the end of the day.
Right.
I mean, how many bands that survived that era can't even get along with each other, and here you guys are blossoming and doing great. So,
Yep.
So there's a reason I live in Myrtle Beach, man.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I'm just joking. That's not true. No,
What were some of the crazy?
We all get along. We all get along very well. And it's actually very cool. And it's tough when you look at some of those bands and you look at how long they were together and how they lived together and how they worked hard to make it, and then they make it and then they all break up and they can't stand each other, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And then so there are some that are still really tight, they're still really good friends, and I guess it just all wears on you after a while, right? And when you're that close, it's hard to stay that close for that long, I guess so.
Like I said, just from watching old footage and, not to down anybody, but I don't care how great someone can sing. If I had to live with Sebastian Bach in the ways that they had to back in the day, I don't think I'd be his biggest fan or friend either. And I think that's true for a lot of people, because people get into rock and roll when they're young because most likely they're dysfunctional to begin with. And then you put them with other dysfunctional people who give them money and access to anything they want in the world. And you wonder why the fuck they end up the way they do.
I can only tell this story because it's well known that Doc and doesn't get along with each other. But I was playing in a top 40 band in LA, and I was playing in a club, and we got done with our set, and I'm standing back by the bar, and this guy comes over, and he's really obnoxious, and he's saying, "How great you guys are," blah, 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 and he's going on and on and on and on and on. And he said, yeah. He says, "My name's Don Dock." And oh, okay, cool. So I couldn't get away from him quick enough. He was that obnoxious. So I go around the other side of the bar.
After he introduces himself, it's not like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I could tolerate your bad behavior for a minute. Like, no.
So
okay,
I go around
cool.
the other side of the bar, and I'm standing there talking, or sitting there waiting for a drink, and this guy's sitting there. He goes, "Yeah, having a little conversation with that guy over there." I said, "Yeah, man, what a fucking asshole. I mean, what a jerk." He goes, "Yeah, that's my singer in my band. I'm Don Dock." I'm like, "Oh shit." He goes, No, I know he's an asshole. It's cool.
It was George Lynch you were talking
George
to,
Lynch,
right?
I meant. Yeah, George Lynch. Who did I say?
Yeah. You said Don Dock, and
I said, he says, "Yeah, I'm the guitar player in his band. I'm George Lynch." I'm like, "Oh shit." He goes, No, it's cool. It's cool.
yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things like, I know, there he goes again.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Homer gets on stage with U2 and Bono starts his whole, "Wait a minute, waste management is very important." And the rest of the band's like, "Oh God, here we go again. You want to go to Moe's for a beer?"
Yeah.
That's a great episode. That's a great episode.
You see, a lot of my political stuff is from punk bands, and they don't usually do a lot of talking. They just give you the music and leave, and at least you get the music. They don't need to do all that extra stuff.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about that. But what's some, I mean, back then, everyone talks about the decadence and stuff, and you guys seem rather healthy and with a decent head on your shoulders. Did you get into the decadence hedonism at all, or that doesn't seem like you guys' style? But
I didn't, because, and part of that was because I'm allergic to alcohol. When I was real little, every time I got a cold, I get real sick, and they found out it was the alcohol and the cough medicine. So I just didn't ever have it. So, and I just never looked at it. You know, it was all around me. And I living in LA, it was abundant, but I just never got into it. It just wasn't me.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so I'll leave it at the 80s were the 80s. And you know, but no, I mean, we were never crazy. But yeah, we like to hang out and we like to party. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's more the decadence and the taking it to extremes rather than,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a pot smoker and it's legal in my state, but in some places that's still a touchy thing. But I function, I do my shit, but I have my advice like everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my Andi Thunders, I'm a big Johnny Thunders fan. I saw that as a cautionary tale. I don't see that as a good time. I mean, granted, I've never heard someone sing so good with their eyes rolling in the back of their head. It didn't look fun. Seriously, I've seen people not even half as messed up as him, not even able to do anything, and he's singing clearly, and he's still playing, but his eyes are rolling back as he's singing, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. He's messed up.
It doesn't look fun, and that's not my idea of a good time. Just like my idea of a good time at a show isn't getting in a mosh pit and getting the shit beaten out of me. I'll never get that, but to each their own.
Yeah, not mine either.
No, I like to remember the times I'm on the stage.
Yeah. The last time I did anything like that was a couple years ago when I saw a pentagram and I got a goose egg because someone collided head first into my forehead. So I had a nice goose egg and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I retired. Too old for this shit.
Yeah.
I'm only 30. The body differences and the changes are killing me just at 30. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. I'm the old man of the group. I'll tell you that much.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, I'll be 67. I'll be 67 in November.
Wow.
Good,
You could
clean
pass
living.
for early 40s, man, and I'm not
Yeah,
just saying
yeah.
that.
No, I get that. I get that quite a bit. It's good. It's all good.
And that's not
I
to
feel
say
that-
he
I
looks
feel that way.
ancient or anything. I'm just saying I
No.
would have thought he would have
No,
been
no.
a little bit older than you or something. I would have never thought you were 67.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the rest of us are in our late 50s. So
It's not bad.
except for the drummer. The drummer, Rod, was what, 6 years younger than me, Michael. So he's in his early 50s, maybe.
Yeah, he was like 19 when he started playing with us.
Wow.
Yeah, he was young.
I can only imagine at his eye of bewilderment as you guys got more popular and more popular. Being that young and stuff. Have to wear diapers on that drum kit back there. Jeez.
You know what? We'd go into a club and nobody would ask him his age, which was cool because we didn't ever have to worry about that. You know?
I remember
because
when
that was a thing. It probably still is.
Yeah.
The first national opener that we did, we had our keyboard player was pretty young too. You know, he was about 5 years younger than us. And I remember walking in the dressing room, those two were sitting there sweating bullets, right? And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? And they're like, oh, well, you know, it's a band from Japan. You can figure who that was. And they were like, they were like sweating it and everything. I'm like, dude, just go up and play, you know, just go up and have fun, do what you got to do. But yeah, so they went through that, you know, and they grew a lot during that time, and it was really cool. It was cool to see that. And we were already all through that, you know, at that point, and it was no big deal to us. And just watching these two sit there and shake like that was funny, and it really wasn't a big deal. But to them it was, you know.
Well, at
it
least
was
you
nice
know they
to be
took
able
it
to
seriously enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was nice to be able to mentor them and watch them grow too. And the drummer, this is an incredible drummer. It really is an incredible drummer.
Yeah, he is.
Personally, from my experience being a guitar player, I thought I would have stage fright, even in front of just, you know, being a guitar player. It was fun. I can do that. Singing, no, I could not have the same confidence going up singing in front of people. That's a totally
that's
I
not
can't
Mettler.
sing.
You
I
keep
don't
a
have
mic
any
away
confidence.
from Mettler.
I do it anyway at times, just because I'm the only one making music in my own little bubble here right now. But I don't have high aspirations for it. But I could never, like, just thinking about the fact that, okay, the guitar player, you know, you play guitar. Singing is a whole nother fucking thing that can make or break
It is. Yeah, I don't sing. I'm just a guitar player, you know. My vocal ability has been, you know, slated to say that I'm a professional crowd remover. So I keep my mouth shut and just play guitar, man.
I call myself a tone deaf.
He'll bring a song to me, and he'll say, here, and this is what I want the lyrics to be. And he'll kind of sing, and I'll go, what the hell was that? I can't sing that.
No, sing like
put your
sing
own
the rhythm,
flavor,
but sing it good.
Yeah, put your own flavor on it, then he'll say.
I try hard, but I'm not a vocalist. Don't pretend to be. I'm a guitarist.
And I'm not a guitarist.
You had in mind. You're not even trying to sing. You're just like, well, the riff goes like this, and I was thinking it's like, make that good.
Yeah. I'm a singer, and I'm not the guitarist, you know, and I'm happy with that. Yeah. I enjoy writing lyrics and writing music, but nope, I just let me sing it.
Yeah, I can't sing, but I can play guitar and I can write lyrics. It's weird how that works, but I just wasn't, I don't know. I've been told that if I get training, but I don't have the money for training, and I don't really have the enthusiasm and all that, you know.
What's that guy's name? Ken Templeton or something?
I keep getting emails from that guy from looking at his shit once. And every 2 weeks, he's closing shop. This is the end.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And he's always posting videos of people singing other people's songs, and usually a woman singing a guy's song or something.
I hear he's really good, but I
I do
can't
too.
afford him.
Oh my gosh, he's really expensive. Yeah.
Like, to even try to get any kind of vocal training anymore, I'm like, I'm working class. I ain't got the extra dough to fork out.
Right.
I can sing along to the radio, but I can't find the notes in my voice without. So it's that some disconnect that I would have to work with. It's probably some technique, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael,
And
could
like I said, I've been singing since I was 4, so
Okay.
it's very natural to me.
Yeah. For me,
I
it's
went-
not.
I went to get vocal lessons from a lady, and she said, "You don't need to come to me.
Oh, wow.
You're fine." And then I didn't until I moved to California. Then I went and got a vocal coach, and he helped me as far as my breathing and keeping my strength up and stuff like that.
I think Paul Stanley even did that when he did Phantom, because he was having strain, and they're like, well, I'm glad you mentioned something. We can get you someone because we hired you because we want your voice. We don't want you to change your voice to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did he have to learn how to do that when I can hear the operatics in Kiss, but I guess it's a completely different animal when you're doing theater, I guess, on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did you want to
just
say
that
something, rock and
terrifies
roll
me.
nurse?
Yeah, that's all
Sorry.
right. No. It's your interview. Well, my first thing is, can you talk a little more about Jesse and like his contributions since he's sadly no longer with us?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
He can't tell us. So
Yeah.
I knew him very well. Kenny knows. I knew him very well. We were pretty good friends. So if I cry, I'm sorry.
No,
That's
you're
all right.
allowed.
That's all right.
Here's the emotional
Okay,
realism. I get it.
We miss him greatly. Jeff and I were like best friends for many, many years. So the Jesse story goes like this. Michael and I got together, we started writing songs, and we decided we were going to put a band together. Jesse was a guitar student of mine.
Oh, wow.
And so he was there on a weekly basis. We became really good friends. So he comes in one night and he sits down. I say, hey man, I got this deal going on with Michael, from LA, and we're trying to work this thing out and everything. And we're looking for a bass player. And he looks at me and says, oh, I don't know any. I said, dude, you missed the point. The point is I want you to play bass, and he's like, oh, okay. So he went to a local music store. He rented a bass. We worked out some parts, and like 2 weeks later, Michael came down, and Jesse was there, and he auditioned, and he got the job, right? But yeah, he was actually like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I don't know any bass players. I'm like, dude, you're really missing the concept here.
That's me. That is me. In a social situation, that is totally me. In any kind of context, flirting, fans, anything, completely oblivious.
He's such a great guy. He had such a great sense of humor and just a pleasure to be with. Plus, he was a barber, so we had our own barber. So
nice.
Our hair was awesome because we had our own personal barber.
My wife's a cosmetologist. I get the same kind of treatment, so I understand.
And if you look on the album, as a tribute to him, we put the artist put a barber pole back in the background.
Oh, that's cool.
And now I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
That was the icing on the cake on that.
Yeah. Sounds like he had no ego then if he didn't even assume you were talking about hiring him.
Yeah. No, he didn't. And when you talk about contribution, I mean, because we were very, very tight. He was also a guitar player. So the normal formation of the band was guitar, bass, keys, drums, from a music standpoint. but we'd go into a metal lineup, right? So Jeff would put the bass down, play guitar, and then our keyboardist was also a bass player. So we could
Okay.
actually do the 2 guitar bass drum thing.
Oh,
So
that's
it was
cool
pretty
as shit.
yeah, it was pretty versatile for us. And Jeff also sang. So
Oh, wow.
so he added a whole dynamic to the band. And so from a writing contribution, he has a couple songs on every record. He came up with some great riffs. He always contributed to the arrangements and things like that. So Michael and I, did a lot of the writing, but he always brought great pieces in. He brought some good songs on this new record. He has three of the 13 songs. And on the old record, I think he had 2 on the Standing in the Rain record. And
Right on.
he was a great guy, had the best attitude in the world. I remember when he auditioned, when he did his audition, he told Michael, he said, "Look, man, I'll play a triangle. I just want to get out and play,"
Yeah.
So that was really where his head was at. And
That
he had
was Jeff.
he had a huge contribution to the band. He was in the band for about 3 years. He left at one point. And so did the original drummer. And we backfilled those and finished the band out like that. But when we did a reunion show, Jesse was there and the original drummer was there. So that was really cool. And what's cool about the second record is it's all the original band. So Jesse's on this. So when you're mixing stuff from way back when and you hear his voice and you hear, or you're watching videos, because we videotaped a lot of the shows and things, and you watch that, it almost feels like he should be here, right?
Yeah, I can't even fathom that kind of feeling. Like, I read about it all the time and I get it, but I can't fathom,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And then the stuff that we went through with the record label and the album being released, he would have been just loving this up, right? I mean, he would have been just all about it.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to experience it. And that's very sad for us, but his contributions were many, and just a great guy, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet.
It sounds like having a bass player who had guitar training would be a really ideal candidate as well, because they understand the music on a deeper level than just someone who knows one instrument. They can be like, wait a second, try it like that. And, it can take it to another dimension. Those little nuggets, like those little arrangements, can make all the difference to a song.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize
Absolutely.
it's the little things like that really make it special.
Yeah. So
and I think that's just beautiful that you guys are honoring him. And I'm sure wherever he's at, he's looking down happy that the stuff's getting out in the way that it is.
Yeah.
Little things happen while we're in the studio that kind of remind us of him and that he's still present. Different glitches that'll happen.
So
me and Kenny
to
wrote a song.
To that point, something will happen, or some, whatever, a noise will be made, or something will cut out, and we're like, okay, well, that's Jesse messing with us, right?
Well, Mettler, remember the song we were doing it, and I went in and sang it, and Kenny recorded it. We went back and listened, and there was another voice there.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, where did that voice come? Because I'm the only one singing, and it was a totally different voice.
And it wasn't like a voice echo. It wasn't a
and we could not
error.
and we couldn't find that anywhere on the tape where it was. It was just one of those things.
Wow, it was haunting. It was haunting. It was crazy. It was crazy. But we miss him.
Things have happened. Like I've always said, there's so much to life that we don't even understand. So
yeah,
I think that's beautiful in itself.
I gotta agree with you on that one. Yep.
Yeah.
So much.
But we miss him. We miss him greatly.
As you should. Man, that sucks. I wish he was here and I could meet him, like that's what I'm feeling like.
He would be, if he was here, he'd be sitting here. I guarantee you that.
Probably. And he'd be smiling, I'm sure, from the way you described him. Oh, man.
He's just a great guy.
So basically the record not being able to be shopped in the advent of grunge kind of split you guys up, it sounds like. What did you guys do in the interim? Did you do the stereotypical get a haircut and a real job, or Did you still slug it away in some shape or form?
No, I kind of gave it up for a while, got into the construction business and cabinet making and did that for quite a
Bloody
while.
doing that. At least you're creative to a degree too.
Yeah. And then I had an accident where I smashed my left hand in a wall.
Oh fuck.
And that really set me back. So the construction was out of it. So I became a worship leader at the local church.
Wow.
and did that for a while and actually put out a Christian CD and did that. And then me and Ken I went to see them one time. Kenny and Jeff were playing a little acoustic set around the area, and I went and saw them one time, and then it took off from there again.
Nice.
Those old flames started.
Yeah. So Jeff and I mean, after Christillow broke up, Jeff was doing this like a solo acoustic thing. I filled in some friends' bands for about a year, and then built actually my second recording studio. So we I really got into like engineering and working with other bands and stuff like that. And then Jeff, as I said, we were like best friends. So he'd come to my house and he'd come over and say, "Hey man, I'm going to play tonight. Come out and play 2 songs with me." And I'd be like, "Oh, man, all right." And then it was, "Hey, why don't you play 4 songs with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." Pretty soon it's like, "Hey man, why don't you play a set?" And I'm like, "All right." And then it's like, "Hey, why don't we just do this?" Because we're always together.
He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he suckered me into it, man. So we did an acoustic thing, playing mostly classic rock stuff for a bunch of years, played, a few hundred shows. And we were still doing that when he passed. But yeah, Michael came to see us one night play, and Michael walks in and he says, we're setting up and we're doing our sound check and everything. And Michael walks up to us, and we haven't seen Michael in a lot of years. And he walks up and he goes, "Rock and roll!" And Jeff looks at me and goes, "Who's that asshole?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then all of
Only
a
our
sudden we're like,
fucking
"Oh my-"
lead singer, man.
And I know. And we both got this look at our face and we're like, "Oh shit, that's Michael, man." So yeah, it was funny. So that's how we all got sort of rekindled there and sort of pulled back together. And then we ended up through the acoustic shows, we ended up doing a little Christillow reunion out of that,
Nice.
because we were still working with the drummer. So the 4 of us got together and did a bunch of Christillow songs at one of the acoustic shows, and it was cool. It was really cool. Yeah.
And then when Jeff died, they had a benefit to help him out with bills and stuff. And me and Kenny were the headliner for them. And Kenny says, "Hey, why don't we keep this rolling? This is pretty nice." And that's why we took off then and put a little band together called Relics, because we were both old.
It's a great
had a good
time.
Had a good time. Yeah.
And we played a ton of shows over those years with that. And so, yeah, so we stayed musically active, just not on that same level. But we love music, and it's nothing that we would do, you just stop, right? You know how that is, you're a guitarist. It just doesn't, you fall out of love with your instrument, but it doesn't go away. It stays.
No, I don't always pick up my guitar as much as I used to, because I'm not trying to be Mr. Rockstar anymore, but I still pick it up. I still love it. And music, I didn't choose it. It chose me.
Right. Yeah.
I tapped into something within my inner being and just, won't let go. Started at 5 and I'm 30. Now that I've made it to 30 this far, I don't have to stop.
There you go. Don't stop. Don't ever stop.
We
were going to be the house band for the Harrisburg Senators, the baseball team up there in Harrisburg. We were going to be the house band for them. That's how much they liked us. And we were going to do about 40 shows, and then COVID hit. And there was no baseball.
Yeah.
Ken, keep talking.
I
gotta
like
go get
3 shows lined up.
I got to go get a power cord for my phone.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah, COVID. I had 3 shows lined up that I was looking very forward to that got canceled.
Yeah.
And then it ruined another show a year later.
Yeah. it really killed the music industry. I mean, it was when you look at local clubs and local bands and even national tours weren't happening, right? So
Yeah.
it was crushing on many levels, not just from a musician level, but just from a financial level, the revenue that stuff brings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was horrible. It was just terrible. It was horrible. We in 1 week we had 47 shows canceled.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I literally, COVID screwed me out of seeing The Obsessed, and they're from Maryland, twice. First time was with Uncle, was it Uncle? No, it wasn't Uncle Acid. That was the other one. Never mind. I forget who it was with, but it was like a killer bill. The second time, they were coming down with a band called The Skull, which has former members of the band Trouble from the 80s. I don't know if you recognize that name at all.
Yeah.
And they canceled the show like 3 days before the show. And the singer for The Skull, Eric Wagner, had gotten COVID. And so they all went home. The rest of the tour was canceled. A couple days later, Eric's in the hospital. 3 days later, he's dead. So not only did COVID ruin me seeing The Obsessed twice, but it killed a singer for a band that I'll never get to see.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm not like a Christian or
horrible.
anything, but they were a Christian metal band. So like, you know, it's very rare that I like a band like that, and it sucks that I won't get to see them. And he had to pass because of something like that. You know, it really bums me out. And I was supposed to see Uncle Acid with Twin Temple out in Rochester, and I'm never gonna see. I won't see Uncle Acid at a venue like that again for a while. They won't play that far up in upstate. They're from England.
Okay.
You know, they're gonna have to recoup everything they lost. They play the city a lot, but they haven't come up to like Rochester before or since.
What's the big club in Rochester?
There's the Montage, which is really good. I was supposed to see the Uncle Acid and Twin Temple show, which I love Twin Temple. At the Anthology, I've never been there. In Buffalo, there's the Rec Room that's really good. I know they have the Art Park, I think, in Buffalo too. I'm not sure. And stuff like that. There's some good places around here. Very good DIY venues.
Yeah, we played at a place called Penny Arcade.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was a big club back in, some years ago. I don't know if it's still open. Then there was a club up in Buffalo called Sinbad's. And and it was a big club. I think when we played there, I think Ace Frehley was actually playing there the next night when we were done.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Frehley's Comet?
So Comet, yeah. And
awesome.
So we've played up through in that area a little bit. And
Remember this?
Great clubs.
Remember how we got on the stage at Buffalo? There was a hole in the floor that you had to climb up a ladder to get up on top of the stage, and a hole.
Oh yeah. That's right. The dressing room was in the basement. You came up on the back side of the stage. That's right. I forgot about that.
There was a ladder you climbed up to get up on the stage.
Yeah.
Like urchins crawling out of the sewer.
So and you'll love this story. So we played in Buffalo, and our drummer had a tendency to be not around when he was supposed to be for sound check. So Rod always had a tendency to wander away. So across the street from where we were, I think was a driving range, if I'm not mistaken. He was over there messing around and stuff. So we had to play there on a Friday night. And the next night we were actually playing in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania on a Saturday. And the road crew had their fill with this, because when it was time to do drums, drummers nowhere to be found, right? So the next night, the drummer shows up for sound check, and the crew's still getting ready. And they said, look, we'll be ready in 10 minutes. And the drummer says, well, I'm going to go get something to eat. And they said, no, you're not. So they took him and they duct taped him to a pole. Right. And so I get this phone call. I'm still at my house, right? Because I lived about a half an hour away. I get this phone call from the club owner, and they said, hey, Kenny. I said, yeah. And they said, your drummer taped to a pole. And I'm like, shit, you know, and then they said, what do you want me to do? And I said, nothing.
We don't know.
Apparently he did something. So leave him there. I'll talk to him when I get there. Right. So I got there. The road crew was like, yeah, he wasn't doing that again to us. You know, we were ready to go. And I'm like, guys, you can't take band members to the pole. You know, it's not acceptable, dudes. You know, but yeah. Yeah.
You can't lock them in road cases. You can't duct tape them to poles. That's saved for the other band's manager.
There's a picture of that somewhere. There's a picture of that somewhere.
But here's the outtake of that whole thing, man. He wasn't late for drum check again.
No,
I'm sure after getting all that tape off him, that had to fucking hurt.
Oh yeah, duct tape, gaffer's tape on your arm.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
it's good they didn't have Gorilla Tape back then, you know it.
Oh,
Taking his skin off.
It was not good.
It's like paper tight bond, for God's sakes.
Where's the box cutter?
You might lose a layer. This is gonna sting a bit. Only in rock and roll can something like that happen.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, that beats my next question. What are some wild, crazy stories you could only experience being in a rock band that you experienced, but getting a call that was taped to a pole?
We were in Martinsville. It was Martinsburg or Martinsville, that club we played at, Kenny, down in Virginia. Martinsville.
Martinsburg, maybe.
Martinsburg, yeah. And we were
Virginia.
playing. We were playing the Friday night, and then Saturday night. Who was it? Whatever, the band was coming in, and their manager was there the night before, and he saw us perform. And I run all over the place. I'm up on the bar. I'm everywhere. So he comes up to us after the show and said, "Hey, when you open up tomorrow night, you don't leave the stage. You stay right there. I don't want you showing up my band." So, second song of the night, I'm flashing across the dance floor and I'm up on the bar. No, I'm still doing my show. We got turned off. Remember that?
If I were you, I would have done one further and recreated the Iggy Pop peanut butter fight. Just to fucking stick that extra little edge in. Maybe I'm just that petty. Tell me not to do something, I'll do it 3 times as much.
That's
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's gotta be a compliment in a way, like, oh shit, I'm making the headliner nervous. What?
I was a climber. I'd go into a club and I'd look where I could climb up into and sing from the rafters if I could.
I'm picturing a combination of like Eddie Vedder hanging from the rafters and Iggy Pop just spastic running across, do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what people respond to.
Yeah, right.
If you're a folk artist, it's okay to be moving and stoic. When you're a rock band, you gotta fucking bring it to the people, and you gotta, you know.
Yep.
It's about the show. What can you do, and how can you bring them involved? Right?
Nothing kills me more than seeing a good metal band and the singer just stands in the middle of the stage and sings. That's all they do. There's no show. That just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But that's their style, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes when people are too perfect or too, particular about, things live too, it can come across as, oh man, you're just rehearsed. You're not feeling it,
Yeah.
I maybe it's, the chaotic hippiness in me, but I like a little bit of variety. I don't like hearing the same thing note for note replicated live. Move around, make a bum note. Who cares? Put feeling.
Yeah. 95% of the people in the audience don't know when you make a mistake anyway.
They react to your response to the mistake more than the mistake themselves. So just keep going.
Right.
I guess it's a punk rock ethic, Who fucking cares?
What,
Just do it. Go for it.
what was that line that Eddie Van Halen said? His dad, he played something and then he played it again and he made a mistake. And his dad says, that's okay. Make mistake, but the next time you play it, play the mistake again. Nobody will ever know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your player prerogative, right? Yeah. So just make the mistake twice and it sounds like you're supposed to do it, you know?
Well, it's funny because it makes me think of that story of John Lennon, how he purposely left his D string flat so he could always point out to his Aunt Mimi which guitar was his that was playing in the recording.
There you
I
go.
thought that was really cool because that's like a mistake repeated over and over and over and over on purpose. You know, and I like that. It gives you a signature thing, you know.
Yep.
Be a little offbeat, you know, it's fun. I
Absolutely.
I gotta ask, and you might have touched on it, but on all of my interviews, this is my famous question. At the end of the day, what is it that you guys absolutely love about music?
Oh my gosh. That's a real open question.
Exactly.
Just the peace of mind that I get when I hear something that I written down and hear it. And like I was telling Kenny, we had a CD with some outtakes on it that we were listening to try to get it right. And I'm a school bus driver, so the radio in my bus is just the worst. I mean, the speakers are the worst.
Yeah.
And this just happened today. I put the CD in that thing just to hear what it would sound like. And it sounded so awesome. It gave me chills. In that bus, this song gave me chills. And I must have heard it a million times since we started recording and mixing it and mastering it and stuff. But it gave me chills. But that's what music does to me. It gives me chills, no matter what it is. It's in my heart. It's in my soul. I don't think I'd want to stay on the earth any longer if I didn't have any music. If I couldn't do music, I really feel that way.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's the emotion. You know, you have a bad day, you play guitar, suddenly you feel better. If you're having a great day and you play, that's great too, right? And how the emotion comes out and how you feel and how you relay that through your music, I think and the release that happens with music. Plus, you know, it's a common ground for everybody, you know, for most people at least. And I think that's great. And so when I look at it, you know, why do I play? It's really for that feel, for that emotion, and how it can just change your mood in a matter of 2 seconds. And you can always, you know, if you look back over your life, you know, and being a songwriter too, you know, you always remember the first time you heard your stuff on the radio or that you saw it in Japanese and stuff like that. But but you can always put yourself at some place in time with certain songs, right?
Yeah.
Because they meant something to you and they trigger something in you. And it, you know, sometimes it brings back the memories that are just like thick, you know, it's like fog. And I think that's what I love. That's what I love about it. What's that, Andy?
They've done that with Alzheimer's patients.
Yes.
Play music from their childhood and their memory starts to come back. Like you can see it on your face that they're, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, I can believe that. Because it's something that gets embedded in you, right?
Like
it's
it
something
gets
like you
ingrained in your
remember where
genetic
you
code
were.
almost.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So I'm just thankful that, you know, there's a lot of people that love music. I'm just really thankful that, you know, I get to play it. And I get to be a songwriter. And also it's nice when people like your songs. You know, it's very gratifying when, you know, you get an email or something. They said, man, I love this song. This song is great. And that means you touch somebody else. And I think that's cool. I think that's really
especially
cool.
when they take the time out to come and tell you, man, I love this song. It means this to me, you know?
Yeah. It means a lot. So,
you know,
I have one more question.
no,
Is that okay, Andy? Is that okay? I just want to know, because well, you guys both know my grandson's a drummer. So what advice would you give to kids that are aspiring now to pursue this business of music? Well, like Andy said, he knew since he was 5. Kenny knows Mason's story. So what advice would you give to these kids now? I mean, the business seems like it's a lot harder to kind of break into, but what would you tell them with all the experience you guys have?
Don't zoom in on just playing drums. Open up the box and learn as much about the business as you can. If that means learning another instrument, do that. But don't just
drummers
center.
Are always needed, and I can
Yeah,
play one of them.
Just don't center into one thing. Open up that box, and the horizon is just open. But you got to go get it. You got to work at it. It's not something that's just going to happen to you. You have
especially
to
him being a drummer too.
Yeah.
That's something that I could never grasp, with the timing and all the stuff at once. Guitar, fine. Bass, fine.
Yeah.
You know,
but just go, just get knee deep into it and just keep digging.
He learns how to play basic guitar. He can make his own records.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, I'm just talking, any kid, but he started out playing guitar. He just, with the ADHD, he just was like, forget this. And for some reason, he just gravitated to the drums, because I guess it does something with an ADHD kid. And I think all of the different things he can do, at one time.
Absolutely.
I'm singing with the band now that our guitar player is 25 years old. He's autistic. He can't read a lick, but we'll bring a song in and say, hey, we want to learn this song. We'll play it for him. Boom. He's playing it. And he's a really good guitar player.
Yeah, I think what you see is,
that don't hold that back.
Yeah. So I think what you see is that music sort of transcends that type of stuff, right? And those people, that have some disabilities or don't have disabilities, they can focus on that, and because it means something different to everybody. I tell Mason 2 things.
Well, I'm saying kids in general. I mean, only because you know him well, right. But I'm talking any kid, that has said since they were, like Andy said, he was 5. I think you guys said you were pretty young. I mean, how would you encourage them, or would, I mean, now I'm talking kids that have the talent, not some kid that, you're going,
I'd say immerse yourself in it.
Yeah. Right. So I guess what I would say to them is, just stay focused on what you want to do. There's a whole lot of things that surround you when you're doing music. Not all of them are positive. So try to stay focused on what you really want to do. And if you stay focused on the musicianship portion of it, then I think you gain a lot out of that. Second is, specifically for Mason, I would tell him to play loud and often at grandma's house.
Yes.
But do you see,
you
it
have
doesn't
to make a
bother me.
hellish racket before it starts to sound good. The best way to do that is loud, so you can know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, practice at grandma's house does not start until 9 p.m.
Oh, it doesn't bother me. My neighbors may have something to say about it, but me personally, I would have a whole entire band in my house.
Yeah. When I was growing up and playing, 6th, 7th, 8th grade type things, we used to practice in my parents' basement. And my mom told me one time, she said that she got really good at reading lips because she watched silent movies all the time, right? Because the band was so loud that, she couldn't hear the TV. And to the day that my mom passed away, she hated the song Sweet Home Alabama and Taking Care of Business, because we played that for hours when I was in 7th grade, right? And she hated those songs.
I've
yeah.
heard them on the radio enough to hate them now. I can only imagine that.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but
Hey,
what
but
a
it's the only
cool,
thing
but
you
what a
can
cool
play.
mom though, right? What a cool mom to let
Right?
let your band play in the basement. So
Yeah,
God love her,
yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She was wonderful. My parents were great. We practiced there all the time. My first recording studio, I didn't even live there and I built it in their house. So, you know, they were just totally supportive and I just couldn't ask for anything better. They used to come see the band play actually, which was really cool too.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
That is
Miss
awesome.
them dearly. Miss them dearly.
I would just say any kids trying to do it, if they look at me as any kind of role model, I'm going to say, for one, don't. The other thing is, if it's what, you know, has chosen you, just immerse yourself in it. Read up on the history, who started what, who influenced who, figure out where it all comes from. That's very important to it as well. As a musician, as anything, a songwriter, a musician, DJ, journalist, whatever you're going to do in it, you got to know your stuff and you got to know where stuff comes from.
Yeah.
Just immerse yourself in it.
Yep.
You don't realize, you don't realize how, especially when you're young, how influenced you are. And so the bands that you listen to and the things of that sort, you know, now, you know, I'll play a riff and it'll be like, oh, that sounds like George Lynch, you know, or something like that, because you don't realize the impact that has on you and how your influences are. So if you keep a wide influence span and you listen to a lot of different types of music and you do that, you develop very quickly. So I would tell young people to keep an open mind.
And just to prove your point, there's a crust punk band called Doom that I am friends with the drummer and bass player out of England. They came out around the same time and share sonic capabilities with like Napalm Death, stuff like that. Very hard edge stuff. On their most recent EP, the drummer told me that they were influenced by some prog rock from the early 70s on some of the musical movements on the EP. And you would never, ever hear it if you listened to the EP and didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to put it in perspective of how important a dense musical palette, you know, to have the inclusiveness, you know.
Because it's about interpretation, right? So you listen to it and you become influenced by it and you like that, and then you take it and it sort of becomes your own thing. And so like what you're listening, you know, the punk band doesn't sound anything like that.
Yeah,
but
they were influenced by it.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to take from people. There's no denying that. Nobody can be truly original anymore. You can't reinvent the wheel. But it's how you use those influences to develop your own personal style.
Yep, agreed, 100%, man. That's so true, so true.
And to touch on the other thing you said, I wrote a song one time after listening to a lot of Jet and AC/DC one afternoon, and I came up with a riff, and I listened to Cold Gin by Kiss a few days later. I'm like, God damn, they influenced me so subliminally. I had taken a break on Kiss. I've gone in and out because, you know, being a fan of a band for so long, I always love them, but I put them on the back burner for other new stuff at the time, but always go back. But after realizing that, then I started going back. I'm like, if I'm that influenced by them and didn't realize it, I need to add them back to my rotation here. You know, it's crazy how that works, because I'm just like, they're not the same notes, but it's the same kind of rhythm and same thing, even with the bend. You know, I'm like, okay, yep.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
and that proves the point of influence. You don't even realize it's happening. You know,
I was trying to write something simple and rocking like Jet or AC/DC, like just a simple power chord, dirty, raw, rockin' raunchy riff. And what I came up with is a mutated Cold Gin. Not what I was going for, but it works.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, that's where that came from. God damn it. I listened to other stuff, a lot of Ace stuff. I'm like, man, so much came from him, and I never, you never think about it until you get to that point where you're listening and you're listening to stuff and you play something and then you put on a song. You're like, that's where that came from. What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. And you have no idea.
It's almost like a
you know,
cosmic spiritual thing when you're a musician and you make music. I mean, I've used that connection, and maybe you being a church guy, you can attest it. People put their hands up in church because they're trying to reach something higher than themselves. They do that at concerts.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like there's a human spiritual instinct in a lot of us to make art, not for money, not for any reason, but because that's just what we do. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're some spiritual messengers sent from the Almighty or any shit like that, but I feel like we tap into a certain spirituality by being artists and connecting with people on a big or small scale. It doesn't matter. You're still, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I agree.
I think you
agree.
see that with a lot of musicians, because a lot of musicians are artists, right? So they draw, they paint, they do things like that too. Or they create, like with Michael, with like woodworking and stuff. That it's a creation process. It's to create something. I think you find a lot of musicians are like that. They're just not guitar players. They have a lot of creativity other than just music itself.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy, is how one little thing and one little interest can unlock so many doors you don't even realize that you're unlocking by doing it. Like, it just happens so gradually over time that it's almost like it's a metamorphosis of your own self in a way.
Yeah. You're right.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell your fans before we wrap this up here?
I would like to thank every single one of them. They're the ones that I write and do the stuff for. I know we don't have a grand total, but if it's just one person that's got something and felt something that made their life change, that's gratitude for me. I appreciate you type of people that get us on and let us talk about our lives. I heartfelt thank you for all that you do, and I just love you all. I mean, it's a great business to be in. It's a great fraternity to be part of, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I thank you.
It's very respected, and I thank you as well for coming on.
Yeah, I echo the same. I echo the same words. The industry is very broad, and there's a lot of players in it other than just musicians. And everyone is key to their success. And I'm thankful that that our fans came out, that they bought the record, and that we were able to do what we do, and it was accepted, and that means the world to us personally. So. And we're doing interviews and magazines and things like that to get the word out. That's great for us, because that's what you want as an artist. You want people to hear your music, right? You want them to acknowledge it and understand what you're trying to relay. So without those medias to be able to get that, it's a little bit almost moot point in some areas from that, getting it out to other people and having that impact. So we're super thankful for that, and the record label, and putting it out, and we're hoping the second one does well, and it's great that the fans did that. So thank you.
I was very gratified this past year that the Central PA Music Hall of Fame put us as a nomination on the ballot to be nominated into the Hall of Fame. We didn't get it, which is, I don't care. Just to be nominated was awesome. And then to see how many votes we got, just it was overwhelming and very heartfelt. And it's just a gratification that I can't express how much thankful I am to everybody.
Yeah, that meant a lot, because that's a lot of the peers and recognizing what we were trying to do. So to be on on the ballot to be inducted into the Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. It means a lot to us. And it's a great organization. They're doing great things. We wish it would have been there 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But they're doing great things for the local scene in Pennsylvania. And Brandon and team they're just awesome. And it's long overdue. And we were really honored to be on the ballot. And hopefully year or two, this was our first year on the ballot, and maybe we'll get lucky and get in. It would be cool. But we're just glad to be part of it and have had contributed enough to be recognized. So it's just awesome. It's great.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, if you can, and I know there's label stuff and possibly that you might have to clear it through, but you can email me your tracks digitally and I can give you airplay on the radio.
You can do that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Andy, I will send this to you.
Oh, fucking A.
And okay, and it has a download card on it, so you can.
Fucking A. All right, I appreciate that.
All right.
Man.
Actually, Michael and I had actually already signed this one. I think it was supposed to go overseas, but I ended up with it somehow. So I'll get this in the mail to you, man. And
I
you
appreciate
can download it. And we appreciate the airplay.
No problem. I play a lot of different stuff on my show. It's an eclectic rock show. Folk punk, anarcho-punk, glam, grunge, everything, and the kitchen sink.
That's awesome.
It's all rock and roll, and it's all deep cuts, underground. You know, what? I played Kiss's Nowhere to Run last week. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
it has been an honor, guys. And for anybody watching who likes what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and go check out Christillow. I'm excited, and I know they are too. Take it easy, guys. It's been an honor.
thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
man.
See you.
Appreciate it.
See you when I see you.